It's always a pleasure to have you on our program, Weekend Deal, every weekend on the Nigerian Television Authority. Thank you for making the time this weekend to keep our company. Every time we talk about topical issues that affects us, our families, and our society with a view to impacting us positively and ensuring growth and continuous progress and development. Today's no different. But today we're talking about something that touches everyone in our country, in our continent, and indeed the world. It's about our children. At some point in our lives, we were young, even though thankfully we've grown up to be mature. We are adults. We make wise decisions, or we're expected to for the most part. So how come now that the very people that we entrust our children to are the very people who betray the confidence and the trust reposed in them? Of course, if you live in Nigeria, if you are on the continent, a part of this world, you must have been seen in the news, from the social media, everywhere. Justice for Hanifa. We had barely taken that in, and we began to hear of other names. A boy who had his throat slashed, another lady who was kidnapped by her neighbor, a young girl, even after the ransom was paid, 3 million. What the parents had to take at the end of the day was her remains. It is pertinent that we talk about this at this time. Not just justice for Hanifa, which is important, but to find out what exactly is going on. Are we losing our cultural norms and traditions? Are we losing the very essence of who we are? Abdulmalik Tanko has children. He has a home. He has a wife. He has parents. He has relatives. We'll talk more about this. Violence against women, violence against children on Weekend Deal today. And we want you to be part of the show. As you know, our program is interactive. My name is Thelma Obaze. Oh, yeah, great to have your company as always. And just like we were talking yesterday, Sule, about the fuel scarcity, some say it's artificial. But because you were very curious and you felt our pain, especially for many of us here, you decided to go out. Sule spoke with some people, and he brings us a package to enlighten us further. What exactly is going on? I was on several queues yesterday for over 5 hours. Tell us more.
This week in the nation's capital has been challenging for motorists, as many fuel stations are either closed or rendering partial service. The few that opened for business were, however, greeted with long queues.
I still wonder why there's scarcity in the town, but outside the Abuja, there's no scarcity. I just come back from Lokoja yesterday. There was no scarcity.
If they are still waiting for them to remove the subsidy, they are suffering with the masses. So let them do their business and go on. And for Nigeria, they should try, before even they want to remove the subsidy. It's good for everybody, but for we to benefit, they should not rely on Dangote. We have 3 refineries. Let them do 2. Dangote support.
It's not really easy, but you can see NNPC makes life easy for us. If you go to some other filling stations, they are keeping their fuel. They are waiting when the fuel would go up.
The way they are saying there is panic buying. It's not panic buying. Nobody would like to buy fuel at the rate of 400 naira or 3 something. So that's why we buy so that we can manage the one we have for a while before the removal of subsidy.
Really, there's a panic buying, because the rumor was circulating because of this increment of the government. Yeah? And the government come categorically say they are not going to increase anything like that. So I don't know, maybe the other stations are hiding the product name, I can't say. But we at NNPC, whenever they brought the product, we are going to sell it out.
This frustrating scenario has been attributed to the anticipated removal of subsidy and the planned nationwide strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress. For every situation, someone benefits. In this case, the black marketers are definitely in their Thanksgiving mode as they continue to gain hugely from the not-too-patient motorists. A litre of PMS is sold for between 250 to 300 naira. This filling station in Area 11 closed its gate to the public, but seen giving fuel to this vehicle. The manager, who did not want to appear on camera, said the fuel given was from the reserve. The officials of the Department of Petroleum Resources were not on ground to rectify this.
There is still heightened inflation, and also removal of subsidy will further worsen the situation, thereby imposing more difficulties on the citizens. And Mr. President clearly does not want to do that. In terms of putting in place a number of measures, one of which is the deployment of an alternative to the PMS, which is the CND, and also the rollout of enhanced refining capacity in the country, including the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery, and also the rehabilitation of the 4 national refineries that have a combined nameplate capacity of 450,000 barrels per day.
It's like we are postponing the evil day. The best thing is still for subsidy to be removed.
The executive has approved the proposal to extend the subsidy removal implementation period by another 18 months. Thus, the NLC called off its planned industrial action. Also, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited issued a statement Wednesday evening assuring the public that the company has sufficient PMS stock to meet the needs of Nigerians. Despite this development, queues are yet to disappear, leading many to wonder if there are other hidden reasons for it, perhaps on the side of the marketers.
There has not been a very smooth issuance of pro forma invoice from NNPC, from PMC in the last couple of weeks. And when it's like if you are issuing about 100 PFI per week, you are now issuing about 30, 40. There's going to be a disjointed in logistic, in loading, in discharging and in selling. And then when it now comes towards the end of February, of January, when the PI is supposed to take off. So people will be insinuating that, okay, maybe because the act is now to commence, that's why the government now through NNPC, who is the sole importer of petrol to this country, they are operating monopolistic operation. Because nobody also import petrol to Nigeria except NNPC.
If they supply us, then the queue will not be there. But the supply, sometimes we get delays from the supply. So actually, we don't know where the problem comes from. If they bring one truck today in this station, definitely I'll sell the truck today.
Now that the removal of subsidy has been suspended, Abuja residents definitely will expect ease at the fuel stations. How soon will that be? Only time will tell. Indeed, only time will tell. And Thelma, you just narrating your ordeal yesterday that you went to about 5 filling stations to get fuel.
And eventually I couldn't get, because the longest I stayed on the queue was 1 hour 30 minutes. And it was still not near my turn. That's why I kept moving around. In the end, I had to buy from those who are doing Thanksgiving already. And it was almost triple the price. And guess what we're doing? We're looking at the black marketers and trying to determine the one that was less of a combination object.
So did you get the right combination?
Who knows? It's the card that will speak in the coming days. Well, that was a great report, Sule.
Yeah, thank you. Now, obviously, the beginning of this show, we started with the fact that we are going to be addressing a very serious issue on the show today, and it's to do with the increasing violence against children. Yes, it's quite despicable, horrifying, and inhumane to see that these things happen to children we call our own, children we often refer to as the leaders of tomorrow. What is really happening? And of course, Francis Obi has put together this background report to set the pace for the program today. So let's take this.
One of the most important periods in a man's life is his childhood. But what happens when that childhood is destroyed in the name of violence against children? It is a global problem that cuts across gender, race, ethnicity, religion, and social status.
Ordinarily, what has happened in Kano, if it were in those days, this thing would just have passed and the parent would just be asked to forgive the person and let it be. Or religious leaders, community leaders will be called into the picture and they will try to appease the family and then they will say, okay, let us settle this thing out of court. But this issue has gone beyond just parents, teachers, community. It has become a national issue. Just shortly a week after that one of Hanifa in Kano, another one, Asmau in Kaduna, we were just recovering from what has happened in Darwin College in Lagos. As if that's not enough, we remember the case of Ochenya in Benue. As if that's not enough, we remember the case of even one a child in one premier college here in Abuja. As if that's not enough, even School of the Deaf in Kuje. So where are those cases?
A lot of things have gone wrong. Morals are no longer there. Parents are on the run day and night trying to fend for their families. And those their families are left unattended. And the parents do not even care when they have the little time to attend to those their children. They don't have time to discuss some of the issues that are affecting children. In that instance, I would say that most families are failing in their responsibilities and have entrusted most of it to the schools. And the schools, I would say with emphasis, have exploited such opportunities.
Violence against children is a pervasive problem, and mostly the perpetrators are someone the child knows. And the violence often takes place where the child should be safe, their homes, in a neighborhood, or at school.
Is the societal value, the excuse given by the perpetrator in question, the Hanifa's case? The man was saying he needed rent. For crying out loud, rent for school and you kill a child who was, entrusted to you as a caregiver, as a teacher? Are there no other means you could even ask for help or assistance from the PTA of your school? Is there no means you can also get access credit maybe from the banks to do your business? Does it entail exchanging a life of an innocent child?
The implication is this. One, we will not have people who wish to go to schools. Like, if you ask me to take my child to any of these mentioned schools or any of these schools where these issues have happened, both in federal government colleges and private institutions, I will not want to put my child in such schools. So would other parents not do same.
Schools are the most influential institution for children after the family. Also, they provide buffer from the adversities they may face at home or community settings. But for too many children today, schools are not safe places any longer.
For most of the private schools, due diligence are not carried out before employing staff. Drivers in private schools, most of them do not even have driver's license. Most of them drive those buses drunk on alcohol. You come to our public schools, you discover that 60-70% of those schools do not have perimeter fencing. Nobody is manning the gate where they have a perimeter fencing in those schools. For a proprietor to have abducted a child, it sends a wrong signal about our implementation processes in this country. There are no identification cards for our children in public schools.
The proliferation of private schools is also adding to our problem. And the schools, the Federal Ministry of Education and the State Ministry of Education have to be on top of their game. There's need for them to have standardization. Look at the riffraff that says he owns a private school where the girl in Kano died. People like that, who even gave them the certification? Who gave them even the license to even start a school? The person himself is not even well educated. Talk more of impacting knowledge into children. So these are the issues we're talking about.
We have a lot of laws and legislations in this regard. But a lot of these laws have not gone far enough, and they have not been very consistent to keep Nigerian girls and children safe. Nigeria became a pathfinder country in February of 2017 when it made a formal and public commitment to end all forms of violence against children and has used support from the End Violence Fund to protect children in the country's conflict zones, but the situation seems not to be abating.
Your children as young as 7, 8 now know what pornography is all about. They now know how to commit suicide. They belong to cults. You think your child will have to go to school to belong to a cult? No, they have it on the internet while they have a group. I remember there was a time they were even saying Malians. Something came up like a kind of flare. Every young person is saying, I'm a Malian, I'm a Malian. That's how it starts. Initiation through the internet.
We are clamoring that there should be a safe school day wherein Parents Teachers Association can give us briefs on how the children are being taken care of in our various schools.
Our focus on Weekend Deal, therefore, will be on addressing the challenges of violence against children.
Thank you, Francis, for that background. It defies human understanding. Abdul Malik Tanko is a father. And if you see his Facebook profile, he talks about seeking the best ways, the most endearing ways to raise a daughter because he wants her to be a blessing to the society. So I can't fathom a father of a child whom he loves now goes on to devastate the life of another family, with a daughter as well. More importantly, that girl was placed in his care. Then you have got the money. You say she saw your face? I don't get that.
And then, Thelma, it's always very, easy for people to say it's the devil's work, not knowing that they are the devil themselves.
But I think Tanko was talking about rent and rat poison. I don't think there was devil involved, or was there?
Doesn't add up.
Wow, doesn't add up. We go to Kano now, where all hands are on deck, and they give us an update.
The residents of Konar Yangana to the Murtala, Nasarawa local government, were thrown into horrific state as they hear the unfortunate story of child murder in their vicinity.
Nawani, kofi na idan za a yi min aure sai a bani shi, mama ta bani shi in a yi min aure.
Yaushe kenan?
Sai an jima ai za a aure ni.
If you mix Hanifa with 100 kids, you'll pick her up, not because of her looks, because of her behavior. She's very friendly.
The voice of little Hanifa Abubakar, who was kidnapped and killed by two devilish young men and a lady. Only a few days later than this video was shot, the child's family wouldn't have imagined the sad reality awaiting. Abdul Malik Muhammad Tanko doubles as the proprietor and the teacher in the Nobel Kids Comprehensive School, where little Hanifa attended, connived with one Isiaq Hamisu and Fatima Jibril to perpetrate this heinous act.
She was coming back from Islamia school, and he kidnapped her because she knew him, so she didn't suspect any harm. She followed him. And investigation later discovered that he made effort before through two other persons. That is one Hashim Isiaku and one Fatima Ibrahim Musa to kidnap the same Hanifa.
Earlier on, much precisely on the 4th of December 2021, a report came to the police about missing little Hanifa. Investigation kicked up, and the suspect felt threatened by the enormity of the investigation and decided to end the innocent child's life.
He used rat poison and poisoned this little girl of 5 years, and she died. As soon as he was brought to us, we started interrogation, and he confessed to the offense. And based on that, he took us to where he buried this little child, and we exhumed her body, and at the end of the day, investigation was concluded.
It was a very sad event which will linger in my memory for the rest of my life. It was disheartening and a cruel sheer heartlessness from this uncle, which we have all confidence that our daughter is in a safe hand, but to our utter dismay, we find the other side of the story.
The monstrous kidnapper and his allies have since been remanded in court, and justice will soon take its turn.
The Ministry of Justice is going to, within the next 3-4 days, file a charge before the proper court. We intend to pursue this case vigorously, and within the next month or two, by the grace of God, we are going to finish with the prosecution of this case.
Behind me is Noble Comprehensive College, where the innocent kid Hanifa Abubakar attended. After the unfortunate incidents of the murder and killing of the innocent child, Hanifa Abubakar, there were several attempts by the aggrieved youth of this area to burn down the school. But in the end, they got it. People are waiting to see justice done.
Since it's already on the custody of the DSS at first, and the Nigerian police took it from there, so we are happy on that. But we, the citizens of this area, we are not going to put our mind on rest until that girl has her own justice.
There have been reactions by related human rights groups and agencies. The Kano State Education Ministry revokes licenses of all operating private schools pending further clearances.
Kano State government is not happy, and it's not only this incident. We are also a receipt of so many other incidences happening in our private schools, and that is why we have to take a very proactive measure to prevent future occurrences.
Experts attributed the increasing cases of kidnapping to the desire to make quick money, oblivious to the grievous consequences.
That's the update there for you, and I know a lot of Nigerians are waiting to see that we experience that speedy dispensation of justice, which has been quite a challenge in the country in some instances. And if these things are made public, perhaps it will serve as deterrent to some other people who have other, similar evil intentions, But seriously, Thelma, something needs to be done.
The governor of Kano State moved very swiftly. I think he suspended the license of all private schools, which one will say in this situation is a welcome development. Perhaps accelerated checks can be done on all of them to ascertain if there's any other Abdul Malik Tanko still left in the group who has the potentials or shows the signs, either male or female. I think that will help. And other states too should very leave on that.
Thank you. Yes, I was just about to say that, because it's very important to actually verify, the eligibility of some of these private schools. And of course, we're doing follow-up not just on Hanifa. We also have a similar case here in the FCT, and that I'm sure, Thelma, you remember the case of Karen, who a 14-year-old girl who died after infection. Series of conflicting reports from that. So let's get the update by Ijoma.
When a child handed over to a school authority is violated, or worse still, dies out of carelessness or in a questionable manner, the loss is agonizing, and it is justifiable for the society to demand for answers and justice. In the recent past, children have been under incessant attacks from all forms of abuse, ranging from violent attacks to raping, kidnapping, bullying, and even death. From here in Abuja, we followed up on one of such cases, and that is the case of 14-year-old Karen Akbaga, an SS1 boarding student of Premier Academy Lube in Abuja, who was allegedly raped and sodomized in her school, and she later died on the 22nd of June 2021 from complications arising from the abuse and her already established medical condition. Since her death, There has been a lot of claims and counterclaims from the civil society groups, the school authority, and the family of the deceased child.
On Monday morning, I took her to the hospital, seeing that she was in distress. The hospital, in the process of treating her, they discovered a discharge from her, which was tested to be condom, and her urine, they found dead spermatozoa in it.
While the school insists that the cause of her death was as a result of hyperglycemia, a condition she was said to have been diagnosed at the age of 9.
Karen happens to be one of the children here that was closely relating to, because she came in with a health condition. She had a type 1 diabetic mellitus. She was on twice daily insulin injection. So when I got home, I discovered that I had missed her mother's call. She called. She told me that since the girl, I called her back. So she now says since the girl got back to school, she has been disturbing her with the hostel line, that she should come and pick her just for the weekend. That she doesn't even want to pick her because they are about writing the exams. So, but because she's disturbing her so much, she doesn't know what to say again. She will just come and pick her. And she came in and picked Karen in good condition. Apart from the red eye, there was no sickness in her at all. This girl became delirious this morning. Yo.
The mother called you?
The mother called me. I said, Ma, what do you mean? How? What happened? She's a non-diabetic, telling me she's delirious. I know what it means. Her blood sugar must have gone up. This girl left here with blood sugar of 114. What did she eat over the weekend at home? Did she take her insulin injections at home? She said she doesn't know, but that they were at the hospital and the doctors actually confirmed that her blood sugar went up above 400. I wasn't happy. This is a case we have managed so well. Why just 2 days at home? And around 2-3 p.m. or thereabout, she called me back again. And she said, please, I should start coming to the hospital. I said, madam, calm down, what happened? She said, no, her daughter was traumatized in my school.
What she's saying, that the girl was raped here. We said, no, it never happened there. Fortunately, as at that time, the senior brother of the girl was here. The senior brother was an SS3, was an SS3 then. If she had, in any way, if something had happened to her, if she didn't even tell her friends, she would tell the brother, she would tell the house mother. A security man must have seen her maybe in a very something mood. What we know was that she died of high blood sugar.
A lot of changes. Like I told you earlier, I wasn't here when the case happened. Okay. So my presence is one of the changes. One, we've reset a lot of policies as who should be admitted. Two, at what age should a child be admitted? Three, want to know the parents deeply before a child is being admitted, because we are running a full boarding school. And once a child is sick, we call the parents. That same day your child has malaria, they are well informed. We've given the child this one, please come and check your child.
Meanwhile, the leader of the Coalition of Gender-Based Violence Responders, Mr. Lemi Uhebwe, however, claims that the school is deliberate with distortion of facts and cover-up of crime. In the meantime, the school has filed a suit against Mr. Uhebwe at the Abuja High Court for 500 million naira as damages. The fact still remains that a 14-year-old girl is dead, but what has not been established is whether she was raped or not.
Thank you, IJ, for that detailed package. When I was just chatting with Sule, we were saying it's hardly ever been heard when such a thing happens and a school takes responsibility, or they say, how can I help? Or, could we have gone wrong somewhere? That's hardly ever the case. But let's meet our guest. Her Excellency Esther John Audu, former ambassador for Nigeria to Gambia. Thank you, ma. It's a pleasure to have you on our program.
It's my pleasure having
You have
you
been with
today.
us for a while, and of course you are a Nigerian, a patriotic one at that. So you have been following the trend, a very unfortunate and terrible trend, with mostly our girls, though some boys have fallen victim. What is your take on what is happening in general? How did we get here?
It's unfortunate that schools don't own up to responsibilities. But then I will start first of all with the parents. As a parent, I have a responsibility to my child. I have to make sure that my child grows up, in a free environment. We parents need to make sure that we bring up our children in such a way that they will be free with us. Because a lot of these children cannot really talk because the parents don't even believe what they say. When a child is molested, a child is abused, she doesn't even know, or he doesn't even know how to tell the parents because he has been maybe trained to be afraid of the parents instead of respect the parents.
In cases where one is not afraid, if there was a guidance and counseling department there, whether male or female, do you think the girl would have been able to talk?
Well, if the girl is free in that environment, she can speak to her guidance counselor. I'm also a guardian counselor. That's my discipline. A guardian counselor is supposed to be approachable and secretive, kind of, when it comes to, keeping secret between the counselor and the child. So every school is supposed to have a guardian counselor so that if the child cannot even speak to any, body around, the child should be able to talk to the counselor. The child should be free to talk to the counselor, knowing that there's a counselor in the school. But many of these schools don't even have counselors.
So it's necessary to have one.
It is very, very necessary to have one, and the counselor just have to be a trained counselor.
Well, Your Excellency, adding to what you're just saying now, people have started responding to messages, and of course, as a viewer, you can respond to us, send us your contributions. We get to share that with the rest of the viewer. This one is saying, Karen was a girl that was outspoken. She was threatened. Another one says, good morning. Because of the various violations of child rights ranging from child abuse, abduction, killings, there will be a need to have a strong law to protect our children. This one is coming from Kinola or Lolade from Ilorin, Kwara State. I'm sure this is something we can talk about implementation of some of these laws. But let's quickly go over to Maiduguri, where we have a similar case we are following up, and that is the update on the El Kanami College story in Maiduguri. Viewer discretion is advised.
Violence against children is one of the pressing issues in the society. Both Nigeria and international law has clearly established every child's right to be protected against violence. Yet, violence against children persists. It has many faces, which includes physical abuse, school bullying, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, among others. An 11-year-old JSS2 student of El Kanami College of Islamic Theology, Maiduguri, Jibrin Sadi Mato, is a victim of violence against children by a senior colleague who is now in police custody.
One Ahmed Umar Goni, male, 16 years old, an SS2 student of the college, inflicted a deep cut on one Jibrin Sadi Mato, a pre-JSS student with a razor blade on the part of his throat, and we have gone deep into this investigation.
He did not do anything to me. I did this thing because I have told my parents to remove me in the cell, but they did not remove me. Anytime when I am going to the school, they will catch me, they will go and keep me there. Then I said that I will do something that they are going to send me out of the hostel.
Jibril is now responding to treatment at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital.
Jibril Sadimat.
How are you feeling now?
Good.
can see him stable and breathing well. That shows you that the airway is clear. So what is remaining now is for us to remove the tube you see in his nose. So this tube is kept there so that you rest the pharynx so that it heals well. So by the time it heals, we are going to remove the tube and he can start swallowing.
In ICU, there's nothing that he needs medically that he doesn't get. He gets everything that he needs.
Borno State government has put necessary measures in order to look into the matter.
Islamic Theology Committee has the following terms of reference: to identify and determine the remote and immediate causes that led to the unfortunate incident and apportion blame appropriately.
We have done everything humanly possible. Everything, we have done it. I don't think there is hostel master for boys section in any of the school. But we have even 13, 15, night, 13, day.
My primary concern now is the health of my boy, to see him recover and then continue with his school.
Putting an end to violence against children is of crucial importance for children's rights, well-being, and a sustainable future.
This story from El Kanemi in Borno State is heart-wrenching. We hear now that the senior student, the one who perpetrated the act, told his parents he didn't like the school. Also on social media, I saw recently where the younger boy has also appealed to his parents, perhaps before, perhaps now, I don't know when he wrote that letter, that he does not want to also go back to that school, that if he goes back, he will be killed. But in that school, we have students, the oldest child can be more than 18 years, and somebody can say that his life is being endangered in a school of that nature. Where are we with this, man?
Children don't just talk. They talk because of a reason. There is no result without a cause. Why is my child saying you should remove me from this school? Find out. And then the school themselves, they just have to, go back to the drawing board. Know what their responsibilities are. The school itself is supposed to be an environment that the child will be, very comfortable for learning to even take place. But here we are having a school that have bullies, that have people that can threaten lives, and they I don't know whether they don't know or they pretend not to know. The school should not be just interested in the money they receive from parents. The schools should be responsible to protecting these children that are in their custody and then bring them up. Because if you have even a student that is a bully, the school is supposed to look for a way of disciplining that child, because somehow that threat will be there. If the teacher or the housemaster or housemistress or matron is very, very vigilant, which they are supposed to do on these children, they will be able to know who a bully is, the kind of character they have, and even report to the school authority, oh, we have a student like this, and this is what he does. Because the principal cannot be everywhere, neither, but the people that take care of these children directly, either the teachers themselves or house masters, house mistresses or matrons, or even prefects, have right, to checkmate, the behaviors of these children, because everything is out of behavior. And all these acts are conceived in the heart. So the school should be able to help the child guard his or her heart. The parents should be able to do that too. When you guard your heart, you'll be able to know the right thing to do, the right behaviors to put up. And when you see wrong behaviors, you checkmate and then think of the best way to go about it, but not to allow a child go to this level. It's like, oh, nobody is attending to me, so I think I can, look for a way of attending to myself. You have the responsibility of attending to the child because you are paid for it. as a teacher, as a parent, you are also responsible to making sure that this child is comfortable because you are paying school fees. Why did you take your child to school if you won't have time for the child?
Now, Ambassador, you talked about discipline, but before we get into that, we have a couple of messages coming here. This one says, good morning. I align myself with all that the guest said. The Ministry of Education should wake up to its responsibilities. The inspectors should do their work with the fear of the Almighty. Not everyone should be a school owner. This one is coming from Sharifat Ladipo Hassan. The next one says, that's very unfortunate. The school should be held responsible for this. I'm sure you're referring to all the stories we've shared so far. The next one says, it's coming from Benway, from Oben. He says, there are more cases that are untold in our primary and secondary schools, some of these issues. Now, you talked about discipline. A lot of people have, profile solutions for how better to discipline pupils in school. Some are saying that corporal punishment should be out of place. Now, how best can we really go about it, knowing fully that a child must be guided?
I don't believe in corporal punishment. That's not my way of discipline. I mean, there are ways that you will put simple rules and regulations in place for the school so that the child or parents are even guided, even before admission. This is the kind of school we have. These are the laws. If you go against this is the result of this is going to be the repercussion. So there should be rules and regulations and repercussions. And parents should be well informed about those things before they accept to even put their children in such schools. As per discipline, there are ways you use your eye to talk to your child and he gets the message. You don't really have to spank. You just look at the child. If the child is doing something wrong, you will see the child will correct himself without you even talking to the child. You have not inflicted any pain on the child per se, but you have, signaled to the child and spoken to the child in a different way. You can talk. When you speak out, the child tend to understand what you are saying. But there are times when you inflict pains on the child will toughen up and say, well, in fact, one day he will even talk about replying you back. So you don't really have to inflict pain on the child before you know that you are disciplining a child. You should have rules and regulations in place that will be followed. But the issue now also is with what is happening, around now. Cases are taken to the police, to the court, and at the end of the day, you don't hear of the results. What has really happened to, because such results will always help to checkmate others that are thinking of,
This is one, most of these cases, most especially the ones we've shared so far, we will make sure that we follow up on all the cases to ensuring that we get to the bottom of it, because we are not just going to leave it here. We must make sure that we follow it to its logical conclusion. So just keep being with us. We'll certainly do that. Right now, we go on a break, and after that, the show continues.
Talking about our children, how to raise them to be leaders, great leaders of our country. Many of us, all of us were children at some point in our lives, so we know what it is like to grow up. Times have changed still, but more important now, more than ever before, we need to raise children in the right environment with the right methods to ensure that they come out right. And that's what I'm talking about since our program took off today. Now we'll go to Lagos, where Dowen College became popular, not for all the right reasons recently. It's about Sylvester Oromoni. He demised. But let's go and get a detailed story of what exactly happened.
Sylvester Oromoni Jr. is the name that sure rings a bell. Behind me is Dowen College, the school the late 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni attended before his death. And this is where the whole story began. Release from the school authority dismissed the earlier claim that Sylvester was tortured by his seniors for refusing to join a secret cult group. Rather, it was said that the deceased sustained injuries while playing football with his colleagues. The injuries, which supposedly developed into some medical complications that eventually took his life. Foul play and negligence were, however, suspected by the family and concerned members of the public who expressed their displeasure on the whole saga.
Bullying is a very, very terrible thing that needs to be stamped out of our institutions. It's horrible, it's terrible, and it is so sad that you had to take one of us away for this to come to light.
Findings from the autopsies conducted revealed that late Sylvester Oromoni died of natural cause.
Death was caused by septicemia following infections of the lungs and kidneys arising from ankle wound. No evidence of blunt force trauma in this body. The findings in the esophagus and stomach are not compatible with chemical intoxication. Death in this case is natural.
While the school has remained sealed off, coroner inquest to further unravel the circumstances surrounding the death of the deceased has started at the High Court Ekpe, under which jurisdiction the school is located. Vices such as violence, cultism, bullying and the likes are becoming the order of the day in our schools. What are the social implications of these on the educational sector and the students? No doubt, online contents are having great influence on the young ones, wherein some of these vices are seen. How can such vices be curbed?
The social media is gradually overthrowing the influence of the family as the most potent agent of socialization. Families should owe up to that responsibility of training their children the way they should go. Schools should go back to that old order of molding characters, taking off from where parents, where families do not meet up with certain expectations.
The government, the parents, the schools all have individual and collective roles to play in raising reliable, dependable, and morally upright children for the good and future of our nation.
Definitely, we all have a role to play in ensuring that we have sanity restored in our society, in schools, societal level, and the national level. But from the school, let's go to the parents, Sylvester's parents. Let's take this next report from them.
My own is, if at the end of the day, if the boys are innocent, fine, I'll bury my child. His dad is dead. He's not coming back again. But I want justice. I want the truth. The school is hiding so many things. They should allow the police to do their job. Police say they are not done. They are getting more facts. They are bringing more people. So why are they releasing the boys?
Jehovah God I rise, oh. Everlasting living God I rise, oh. Those that killed my son, that cut the life of my son short. Everlasting living God, I cry to you. I rise up. Let the full Nigeria know that I serve you from the bottom of my heart.
That is part of the traumatic experience a parent goes through when his or her child is abused. Violence against children, sadly, is on the increase despite interventions from the law and society. What could be the reason for the rise?
The fact that you were bullied as a junior student, because that is why the thing is like continuing. When I was in SS2, when I was in JS1, do you know what senior did to me? So it is like they feel that they want to do it to the next person. So it needs to stop. We need to break this chain. This whatever that is the value that was attached to the fact that it was done to me, I have to do it to you. Teachers, schools, the children themselves, everybody has to take it as a responsibility to stop this culture of violence.
A bully can be anybody, irrespective of age, class, status, or gender. and anyone can be bullied. But more worrisome is the growing cases of violence against children in schools, especially boarding schools.
To me, boarding school is still very good. The parents should try as much as possible to inculcate good value system in their children from home. When they now get to school, the school management should try as much as possible to ensure that this value system that were inculcated from the home is built upon, and the school management should try as much as possible to stop this bullying system, because the bullying system is becoming another thing at the moment.
Punishment had been there, but it was done with love. It was not done with hatred. It was not done with envy. It was not done with a view to destroy the person, but to make the person a better person in the society. But today, because of moral decadence, because of hatred, because of the fact that there's this dichotomy between the old and the new, problems are everywhere.
I want to be on my own, even when it's the watch of the teachers or the housemaster. But he still feel that, yes, my parents are not here. I'm here alone. You know, even when he do anything wrong, yes, the house teacher or the house master can caution him and he will learn from there. You know, but if it's at home, it's a different thing entirely. So I think it can be encouraged to send our children to boarding school.
What more can be done to curb this menace, which dangerously is claiming the lives of our young leaders of tomorrow?
It is important that every parent understand his or her child. And that's why you see that Delta State government is all the time on radio begging parents to play their part at home. And because of the fact that there is child's right law domesticated in Delta State, His Excellency had gone further to make sure that the provisions of that child's right law in Delta State, that implementation is critical for him.
To nip this life-sucking attitude in the bud, all hands must be on deck to ensure the lives of our children are safe always.
For Maiduguri, we saw a 16-year-old slashing the throat of an 11-year-old. We went to Kano, and a 5-year-old girl was killed. There's been a 12-year-old girl, there's been an 11-year-old. In Lagos, Sylvester Romani lost his life after he was bullied, beaten up with belts, shoes, all manner of things. He did not survive it. Now we're beginning to look at the mental ability of some of the people that do these things. Yes, we say bullying, but somebody has now introduced social media, that many parents are raising their children through social media. Her Excellency, Madam Audu, so many reasons brought about this terrifying and terrible situations, these terrible outcomes. So many hands, so many people dropped their responsibilities to build up children or adults who are playing these terrible roles in society today. How do we address it? Social media, is it a critical negative influence?
Well, I will say the world is changing and we'll never go back to where we were. And we just have to be seen updating ourselves and so updating our children so that they can measure up, you know, with the outside world. So, in as much as I know that there is the negative part of social media, but I will also say that the children just have to be updated with the current trend of affairs. A lot of things are no more done. I mean, I was trained to use a typewriter. Today I am using my handset even as a computer. So I don't have to go back to the typewriter again. So I wouldn't advise us to say, keep the children out of, you know, social media space, because we still have the area where our children are even educated than even they are in their classrooms through the same, you know, internet, social media, and so on. You know, a child may at times ask a teacher what the meaning of something is. The teacher may not even know it. But when the child goes to the internet, Google what that thing is, what's the meaning of this. It will tell even if it doesn't give the child the full meaning, it will direct the child and channel the child's brain towards knowing what that thing means than, talking to a teacher that maybe did not even go through teachers training, because we have a lot of teachers that are teaching what they don't really know. These days we have teachers, even headmasters and principals that didn't, really pass through education.
But there are negative aspects of social media.
There is, definitely. There's negative aspect of everything. It is for us to direct the children on the right path to go. So telling them to be completely off the social media, well, I wouldn't say it's the best, because the social media itself is teaching them a lot of things. But then there was bullying and so on even before social media came in. The ways we're using in discipline our children. At times they will say, go and wash the toilet. By the time you wash the toilet twice, you know that thing you will not repeat it again. But not you go inflicting pains on somebody's child. You have no right, especially as a co-student, to inflict pain on anybody's child. As far as I'm concerned, you are there to learn. You should be seen learning. The teachers are there to guide you. The teachers are there to help you grow. And that is what we should see. But not to authorize somebody's child or pretend not to see what the child is doing to another man's child when you know that you are even receiving school fees from both parents. If you have a child that is going to be a problem to the other children in the school, and it's better to tell the parents of the child to take the child away from the school, or you expel the child, and then you have your peace, than to allow the child remain just because you want the school fees from that child's parents, and then you lead to the death of others. This is death we are talking about.
Well, Ambassador, I'm sure there's a whole lot.
We shouldn't allow our children to die.
Certainly, and there's a whole lot of things that needs to be done and changed to get to where we want to be really as a nation, because a lot of things are not going the right way as we speak. Thank you very much for sharing your thought with us. We've been speaking with Ambassador Esther John Audu. She is the former High Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the Gambia. It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And Thelma, it has been a very enlightening session and show today. Many details coming out from some of this.
There's cause for sober reflection.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm sure we'll continue with this conversation on violence against children generally in the country. There's a whole lot of things that we need to do differently in order to get it right, and I'm sure our guests buttress some of these points, and tomorrow certainly we will continue in that direction.
God bless Nigeria.